Something annoying is happening in the NFL. Young quarterbacks are coming into the league, and they're playing terrible football. Furthermore, we are placing insanely high expectations on them. We're watching guys like Bo Nix and Caleb Williams struggle, screaming, why? Jayden Daniels just flipped the switch, but Bryce Young has been benched, and Andy Dalton did him no favors by reviving a fully dead franchise in Carolina. Hell, even the transcendent one, CJ Stroud's numbers have been boring as hell so far this season. Anthony Richardson is as volatile as cryptocurrency, with his peaks and valleys putting the Himalayas to shame. Will Levis, still a better male spokesman than a quarterback. The only good QB from the 2022 draft is Brock Purdy. Trevor Lawrence is the only quarterback from 2021 who still isn't dead. Still on the same team that drafted him, and he hasn't had a single good game this season. We've entered a young quarterback drought after 2020, 2019, and 2017 spoiled us with elite talent. Today, I want to try and answer the question, how bad is it? Is it unique, or did we just hit a few outlier years with Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Tua, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow? And is there any hope for the current youngins? Whew. Please subscribe here, otherwise I will be benched. YouTube said they will bench me. And my ego can't handle that. Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog. Use my code THATSGOOD when you sign up at Underdog. That's how they know I'm doing my job. And if we get to 10,000 signups, again, it's $1 million they're gonna pay me. We just hit 2,000 signups, so we're 8,000 away. So if you wanna get in on that and help, use my code That's Good when you sign up at Underdog. Link in the description. Now, I think it's worth pointing out that we really just left the golden age of quarterbacks. That era may have drawn to a close when a very stat-compiling generation of signal callers in Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and Matt Ryan all stepped away from the game over the course of just 3 years. It wasn't in that 3-year window, but for Giants fans, I'll throw in Eli Manning, and of course Peyton Manning after the 2020-15 season. For over 2 decades, these quarterbacks transcended football, evolving into symbols of excellence, durability, and leadership in the sport. Their retirements marked not only the end of an era, but also a seismic shift in the landscape of professional football. It looks like Aaron Rodgers may rekindle his root chakra, or whatever the hell he credits for being able to throw a football now. But to what extent that chakra slings it, we don't know for sure yet. And I have enough evidence to know that Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson are mostly washed. That's a massive exodus of quarterback talent over the course of just a few years, and it's obvious that it's going to have an impact on the quality of the position across the league, because you don't just replace that level of competence overnight. It takes time to develop. Now, I already did a video about the NFL's decline in passing, and that's holding up well because it's not just young QBs right now. It's quarterbacks en masse. Passing is down, offense is down, and it just feels like defenses are playing on a tilted field right now. If you're watching games, it feels like there are fewer and fewer fireworks each passing Sunday, and that's because there are. There were almost 46 points per game week 1. That dropped all the way to 39.6 week 2. Luckily, the shitty Jags defense helped week 3, ticking it back up to 41.5. All of those numbers are down from a few years ago. Now, the offense is eventually supposed to catch up to the defense as the season wears on, right? But it appears that the opposite is actually happening this year. Is Mel Kiper right? Should we ban too high safeties?
The NFL is being ruined by these too high safeties.
While we're at it, I think we should also just ban shitty quarterback play and turnstile offensive lines, because I have a sneaking suspicion that those factors have as much to do with the downturn in scoring this year. For the love of God, we're about to give poor Kurt Warner a migraine. This shit has gotten so bad, he's gonna give up talking about football and go back to that Hy-Vee in Iowa, where at least he doesn't have to watch Will Levis play quarterback anymore. And he can stock the shelves with Will's mayo. Now, before I hit on all of the current QBs, let me remind you, CJ Stroud's rookie season, it's an outlier.
Yeah, he is not a rookie.
So is Justin Herbert's. And Herbert was thrown into the fire much earlier than anticipated. Patrick Mahomes sat a year. Josh Allen struggled as a rookie, specifically throwing the ball. Tua was a bust until Mike McDaniel showed up. Tom Brady didn't start as a rookie. And all he did to win his first Super Bowl was game manage. Big Ben, very similar early on. Phillip Rivers didn't start for 2 seasons. Drew Brees didn't start right away. We know Jordan Love sat for a few years, and we forget even Jalen Hurts didn't start until the end of the season. And don't forget, guys, football nerds still jizz all over the 1983 quarterback draft as the best ever. That happened 41 years ago, just to let you know how hard it is to find multiple great quarterbacks in a single draft. We should really only expect to find one. And I think we've seen recently a bunch of rookie quarterbacks thrown to the wolves while we expect great things from them immediately. Historically, that's just not a recipe for success early in a quarterback's career. Now, Titan sophomore quarterback Will Levis has been spectacular. Not in a good sense. I mean that he is a spectacle, something you really have to see to believe every week. He's a walking blunder, the most unintentionally hilarious quarterback we have right now. Through 3 games, he has 8 turnovers, including 2 pick sixes, one of which almost certainly cost them a Week 1 victory against the Bears. He actually played better in Week 3 against the Packers, still fired 2 picks, which is unfortunate because he completed 76.5% of his passes. But since the Packers won with Titan castaway Malik Willis, nobody noticed Levis actually improved. Caleb Williams was the first overall pick out of USC after drawing comparisons to, oh fuck no, sorry Caleb, Patrick Mahomes for his elusiveness behind the line of scrimmage, his ability to create, and his knack for throwing off platform. That hasn't shown through so far, at least not often enough for him to be effective. I think it's taken a few games for him to learn that the athleticism that put him head and shoulders above his Pac-12 competition isn't as special in the league full of elite athletes. It would be like if you plopped me down at the Sports Center desk. You might be able to pirouette around defenders in the backfield every once in a while, but it's not a staple to be relied on. And the guy who made that trendy, Patrick Mahomes, is taking what the defense currently gives him. He's playing boring football. And also, Patrick went to a better team, a better head coach suited for his skill set with Andy Reid. After 2 really rough starts, I do think Caleb has gotten better on schedule from the pocket and against the Colts. He had his first 2 touchdown passes and 363 yards through the air, which was the high mark for passing in 2024. That's kind of incredible. He developed a rapport with fellow rookie Romo Dunze. He hit 7 yards per attempt, and well, yeah, he did still throw 2 picks and fumble the ball. Baby steps, at least, okay? Plus, Keenan Allen has missed 2 games with injury. Caleb has the highest expectations of any of the current young quarterbacks, and he won't be graded on a curve just because he plays for the frickin' Bears. Caleb's biggest hurdle besides his offensive line is his head coach and offensive coordinator in Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron. Now, don't be surprised if they are both gone in 2025. Caleb's opponent Week 3 is taking not just baby steps, but perhaps fetus steps. Not to get too political or anything, Anthony Richardson is being treated like a rookie, and I think that's fair in a lot of ways considering he only started 4 games in 2023, and he's still only 22 years old. In the first quarter of the season opener, Richardson uncorked one of the most impressive long balls I and any of you have ever seen. Just a remarkable throw, and we instantly understood what made him a top 5 pick a year ago. The tools were fully on display for all to see. Then we quickly found out that might be his only tool in the tool bag. Yeah, He is like Tim Allen, huh? The accuracy outside of ththose massive heaves has left so much to be desired. Here are his stat lines through 3 games: 9 for 19, 17 for 34, and 10 for 20. He's currently sitting under 50% completions. That's last among qualified QBs in the league. His saving grace should be that he's an incredible threat to carry the ball, but he only had 3 yards per rush on 8 carries against the Bears. You have inverse issues with Richardson, right? He needs to learn to complete the easy throws, and that will open up his entire tool bag. We knew that this was going to be a project for the Colts, but that project is not on schedule, and right now I think it's more than fair to say he's holding them back. Bo Nix was not supposed to be a project. He was supposed to be the most pro-ready of all the first-round QBs in 2024. He looked excellent in the preseason, won the job in a landslide, and then we realized it might take a little longer than we would have liked. He looked overwhelmed against Seattle and Pittsburgh, perhaps understandably so, both top 5 scoring defenses right now. Seattle's number 1 against the pass, Pittsburgh against the run, meaning that's 2 defenses that make opposing offenses one-dimensional. That's tough for a rook. Now, things may have clicked in Tampa for Bo Nix. It's usually a very humbling experience for a rookie to face a Todd Bowles defense.
It's exciting!
Nix was particularly awesome, though, against the blitz, going 10 of 16 for 106 yards when the Bucs sent extra rushers down his throat. Not to mention, he wasn't sacked once on any of those blitzes. In fact, he didn't go down in any of his 36 dropbacks whatsoever. A very un-rookie-like performance against a seasoned defensive mind. With rookie quarterbacks, that's what you really have to watch for, okay? They may not have complete games, but notice the shit they are doing well. And for Broncos fans, seeing Nix not take sacks is noticeably better from the last 2 years of being unlimited in the sack department. Now, Nix obviously threw 2 picks in each of his first 2 starts and probably got away with a couple more that could have been intercepted. The Drew Brees comparisons feel like a cliche at this point, I know, but I think it is useful because of Sean Payton, the connection there, and the similar profiles between Brees and Nix. We think of Brees as this quarterback who kept the ball out of harm's way, but that was really only much later in his career. Brees did actually throw a good number of interceptions, even when he and Peyton were at their best in New Orleans. Now, Brees averaged 12.5 picks per year under Sean Payton, and before his arm started to break down on him, he had seasons where he threw 18, 22, 19, and 17 picks. Obviously, the absurd touchdown numbers and yard numbers will dwarf those interception stats, but I mention all of that to say this. The numbers might not look great for Nix the first couple years. 0 TDs and 4 picks through 3 weeks, but if you watch closely, you can see the progress. Also, he's got mobility that Drew Brees never even could dream about. And speaking of mobility, we should talk about what Jayden Daniels did on Monday Night Football. Dear God, Jayden. Because after Nix's win over Tampa on Sunday, that had been the signature rookie QB game. Until a little over 24 hours later when the second overall pick took the field in Cincinnati. The Commanders did not punt, nor did they turn the ball over in that road win. Daniels missed an early layup on a deep ball to a wide open Terry McLaurin. And if he hits that, he has 1 incompletion all night. You can't set the bar that high, Jayden. That's dangerous. But he more than made up for that incompletion the rest of the way, right? Daniels completed all but 2 of his 23 attempts for 254 yards and a pair of TDs, only getting sacked twice for a loss of 6 yards. Oh yeah, and he added a score on the ground, already his 3rd rushing TD through 3 games. More than anything, we saw a level of accuracy from Jayden only I expected, not to mention a flair for the dramatic when he and McLaurin put the game away late in the 4th quarter. He wasn't just locked onto McLaurin either. He found 8 different receivers, 4 completions, including, of course, their tackle, Trent Scott, for the big man TD. More of those, please. I request more of those. All in all, I think this performance called to mind what RG3 did 12 years ago against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. In front of a national audience, Griffin had over 300 yards and 4 touchdown passes in another win where Washington dropped 38 points on the road. Eerily similar, although I am hoping against hope that Daniels ends up proving to be a bit more durable than RG3 And for the love of God, he never posts a picture of himself eating a giant croissant. Also, don't expect Jayden to complete 91% of his passes every week, okay? That's unrealistic and unfair to ask him to sustain. Now, I mentioned CJ Stroud, who a year ago set a new benchmark for quarterbacks, hitting the ground running. An all-time efficient and prolific season for a rookie QB, turning around a completely moribund franchise in Houston seemingly overnight. And it's only been 3 games in 2024, but we're seeing a minor drop-off for Stroud so far in year 2. I wouldn't sound the alarm bells for a sophomore slump just yet, but through 3 games, he's got a 2-to-1 touchdown-to-pick ratio to go with 7 yards per attempt. Now that's a good stat line for most QBs, but last year Stroud had a TD to pick ratio of nearly 5-to-1 and was averaging a full yard more every time he let go of the football. Here's what we do as football fans that isn't fair to quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, great as a rookie, so we will say he's great regardless of how he actually plays this season. Even if he regresses, he will get a pass from us because he showed us he can do it. Conversely, if other young quarterbacks do not produce, we want to crucify them, rid our teams of them, and find the next guy to do that again as soon as possible. We crave instant gratification, even though we know that is unlikely. We are crazy as fans. Now, Bryce Young, the quarterback taken 1 pick before CJ by the Carolina Panthers, may be in the most trouble. Young had a very disappointing rookie season, to say the least, and in the first 2 games of year 2, he looked lost. To the point where the Panthers kind of needed to bench him for his own sake as much as theirs. They tossed Andy Dalton into the starting lineup as a diagnostic test to see if the offense was running okay outside of Bryce. And oh no, it turned out it was doing just fine. It was like they were filling their tank with diesel fuel for some reason, and as soon as they switched back to unleaded, oh fuck, the car's doing what it's supposed to do. Young grabbed a clipboard and Andy Dalton became the first QB in 2024 to toss 3 TDs and for over 300 yards in the same game. Something that used to happen by 10 quarterbacks every week. Now, it may very well be over for Bryce. It's going to be an uphill battle for him to win the job anywhere moving forward. The physical limitations were too limiting, it appears, and Bryce never had Kyler Murray's arm and athleticism to make up for his stature or lack thereof. Now, I'll tell you what I did not see coming, the rise of Malik Willis. If his stint in Green Bay doesn't show you the importance of scheme and supporting cast, I don't know what does. But the most damning stat from 2022 is that the only 2 quarterbacks still with the teams that drafted them are the last 2 taken. Skylar Thompson, who was not good in relief of Tua, and of course, the human anomaly that is Brock Purdy. The last player taken in 2022 is locked in as the most efficient and statistically best passer since the start of the 2023 season. The very first player taken in 2021 keeps descending. Trevor Lawrence was always going to get a mulligan in Jacksonville after tolling through a rookie season, presided over by one Urban Meyer, the one-man wrecking ball of a head coach. Enter Dougie P, and Lawrence immediately corrects himself, going from 12 touchdowns and 17 picks as a rookie to 25-8 in year 2, not to mention a Pro Bowl and a stunning comeback win over the Chargers in the wildcard round of the playoffs. Now, it looked like things were rolling smoothly, but after an 8-3 start in 2023, Lawrence has now quarterbacked the Jags to 8 straight losses as the starter, culminating in whatever the fuck that was on Monday Night Football in Buffalo. Once dubbed a generational talent coming out of Clemson, it's starting to look less and less like Lawrence can overcome any sort of adversity in Jacksonville.
I'm kind of messed up.
Or worse, perhaps Lawrence himself is the adversity in Jacksonville. Trevor's situation looks terrible because the Jags paid him a shit ton of money, didn't they? They paid him without really knowing if he was the one. Never has a 5th-year option made so much since Jacksonville. Trevor needed that. I won't even touch on his backup, McCorkle Jones, also a failed first-round pick. From that same draft, though, Justin Fields, selected with pick 11, seems to be launched onto an opposite trajectory. Fields compiled a record of just 10-28 in 3 seasons with the Bears to go with some fairly pedestrian stats on an offense that didn't have a lot going for it, save for DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. He was dealt to Pittsburgh for next to nothing. He wasn't slated to start, but a mysterious Russell Wilson injury catapulted Fields into the starting lineup, and all of a sudden, he's managed the Steelers to a 3-0 start, and I'm not sure anyone saw that coming, outside of naturally Steelers fans. Fields and Lawrence are both perfect examples of patience, though, right? And patience doesn't just mean waiting for someone to figure it out and get good. It can also mean the patience to not dub someone a generational talent after a great freshman season in college or one Pro Bowl year in the NFL. It's a huge surprise that Fields is beginning to look like the more competent of the two players. I think we should be extending that lesson to the current crop of rookie quarterbacks.
There's not enough emphasis put on the organization's role in the development of the position, meaning I do believe this, Rich. I believe that organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations. And
Fields is on a very good team. He's being praised for his play, and he's completing a very high percent of his passes. But guys, we're talking about 2 passing touchdowns and a game of 245 yards, 117 yards, and 156 yards through the air. I think he's getting better coaching, playing with what the defense gives him, and allowing the best defense in the league to take care of the rest. A lesson Will Levis desperately needs to learn. Right now, Jayden Daniels has impressed the most, no question. Not only that, he did it in prime time, which carries a ton of weight in the public perception. Bo Nix maybe has a slight edge on Caleb Williams right now. It really doesn't mean shit, because if you base any sort of long-term prognosis on 180 minutes of football, you are a Nimrod. Bringing back Nimrod, I am. It was even sillier when people were claiming all 3 were busts after 2 weeks. This stuff takes time, and if you don't allow for growing pains, you better be okay with being wrong over and over and over again, because quarterbacks drafted in 2018 are still proving us wrong. In the case of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, it's going to be an up and down journey for a lot of these guys, not a straight line. And it's hard for fans to remain patient, even smart ones. We see our team draft a quarterback. So we rejoice, we celebrate, then we tell ourselves it's a process, it's gonna take some time. Then they throw one great pass in the preseason. We forget all logic and expect immediate eliteness. And then we scream and cry when the process actually starts in the regular season. Most of these guys aren't as bad as they seem. We're just crazy fucking fans. Thanks for watching. That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. And don't forget to sign up for Underdog with my code That's Good. Link in the description.